2007, I decided that I was going to go out and do some consulting for green businesses, so solar energy, energy efficient buildings, and it took me to California, and I landed some really big projects. Chino fire stations, I did 2 of them out there. I did the Long Beach police station. I did San Juan Capistrano fire station, community center. I did a library at Lake Gregory. I did an Upland fire station. I did a lot of consulting. Basically what my shtick was, is I can show you how to make the building much, much more energy efficient, and then I can also show you all the grants and how you offset the cost. So that was just fantastic. And I came out to California, and the first year I booked maybe $350,000 in consulting gigs. So that was really, really great for us. However, if we remember, in 2008, everything started going to hell, and Lehman Brothers fell, and Lehman also carried a lot of municipal bonds. And so all my work that I had done was municipal projects. And the municipalities freaked out, said time out. We want to take a look at the project and make sure that we're okay with this, because there's great uncertainty. But it's a municipal contract. You're eventually going to get paid, right? They're not going to stiff you for the most part. Well, I took some of the worst small business advice I ever got. I was told to get a factoring loan. If you don't know what this is, it's like a payday loan for businesses. And so I would basically say, hey, look, I've got 7 billable receipts here, 2 municipalities, they're bonded, we're going to get paid. And they say, okay, great, Robert, we'll advance you up to 80% of what's on the invoice. And had a $100,000 loan, everything stops. It's no problem if you pay it back in a month, it's like 3% loan. If you don't pay it back in a month, it goes up to 9%, and then 9% jumps to 22%. So in a very, very short time, my $100,000 in debt climbed up to about $175,000. At the same time, I had a deal out in South Beach in Florida go bad. I lost $100,000 on that. I did not have a big investor pool behind me. We were just running this based on what I had saved in my retirement. In a short span of 2 years, I gathered up about I know the number exactly, it's $464,000 in debt. And a vast majority of it was personally guaranteed. Right? So I had read The Art of the Deal, Mike. I just forgot that first thing is never sign a PG. So that was it. It was really, really bad. I got some other deals going. I took a couple programs. I worked for the city. I worked for the county. I'm a green guy. That was my life. I was an expert, so I could always find work there, but that wasn't making the debt go away. And a lot of those programs dried up, and it was August of 2012, and it was at the DoubleTree in Culver City, and I always butcher the guy's name who was there. It was Larry Humboldt, right, if you remember that, and he started talking about working with investors and flipping and finding properties, and I said, okay, I got to figure out how to get into this. I had a general contractor background. I'm a 3rd-generation contractor. My grandfather, my father. I knew that. I knew how to fix things, so that wasn't too difficult. And I decided I was going to jump into that. So I went to that first meeting in August, went to a few others, and as he alluded to, I went to the December meeting, which was the holiday meeting. There were experts up there. I was sitting in your seat, and I said to myself, I'm going to be up there one day. And so here I am today. That was 3 years ago. Thank you. And it got worse before it got better. So then that summer was tough for me. I went to a few other meetings. The big turning point was, and I know the date again, February 11th, 2013, back at the DoubleTree, and your guest speaker that night was Kent Clothier. And I hooked up with Kent, and I bought his product that night. It was to find cash buyers. And since I was doing rehab as a contractor, I mailed out like 500 letters to cash buyers with the return address, your new rehab contractor. And I got about $84,000 worth of business off of that mailing. I was very happy about that. They kept me going. Got a couple jobs here and there, but by April of 2013, I'm down to my last $6,000. Right? I have a $12,000 nut. I need $6,000 to get through that month. Just to get through that month. And I don't know where it's coming from. Right? I still have this big lump on my shoulder called massive personal debt. And I need $6,000 or I'm going to just jump in my pickup and drive east. That was my thought. It was at that point in my life where I realized I wasn't the smartest freaking guy in the world. And that I was just going to stop thinking I was the smartest person and start doing what successful people do. And on the road down the 405, see what happens when you have problems with finances and you have a small business, you have this ultimate dilemma at some point if you're in a hole. Do you pay the IRS or do you pay your employees? I chose to pay my employees. The IRS doesn't come after you for like 9 to 12 months, so you kind of forget about it, and you think you're in a good shape. They came hard. I was getting audited. They wanted me. They're going to put a lien on it, so I had to go deal with that problem. It's just a really horrible day in my life. And I'm driving down the 405, and I just had watched this little Bob Proctor thing. So I'm gonna do it because I promised myself that day if I say it, I'm going to say it 5 times in a row, at least. So you have to bear with me, please. So I said, I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me freely and easily from multiple sources. And I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me freely and easily from multiple sources. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me freely and easily from multiple sources. And I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me freely and easily from multiple sources. And I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me freely and easily from multiple sources. 10 minutes after finishing up, and I think I'm like a total goofball saying this to myself, driving down the 405, I go to my P.O. box, I open it up, and there's a check for $6,500. It was a job I had done in Long Beach that had been basically frozen, and this was the last payment, and they finally paid me 2.5 years later. It's exactly what I needed to get through that month, right? So I'm like, oh my God, this works. More so, my wife said, oh my God, that works. So I do that fairly regularly. I still do it. I do it when I'm feeling really good. And I do it when I don't know if anyone saw the sunset tonight. It was absolutely stunning. Nice. I did it. I connected with good places in my life, good thoughts. So I went through that summer, and that turned it around. I hooked up with a company that was processing properties for hedge funds. So in August of 2013, I got hired by a company that had just bought 3,600 homes. There was more than enough work for me. And so I used that next 2-year run of everyone in these rooms was complaining about the hedge funds. I'm snickering like, oh my God, this is the best thing in the world, hedge funds. I love them. And I was able to get up to doing about 11 flips a month with them. And so between them and some of the bank work I did, I worked for Faraday and Fannie. I had a SAM contract. We had done about 200 flips as of like last week. So it did turn around. Now, I still have debt. I've structured it a little bit differently, thank God. I have investors who stuck with me, and I owe them money, and I have where's Art, who yells at me for this? I have no legal reason to pay my investors back, but I am paying them back. And that takes me here today. So what I've done over the last, 2 years is I just started giving back by just telling people, hey, you want to come walk a job with me? Hey, I'm going to do some mailers. I still do it. I have open office hours. People come to the office. We sit down. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm proofing a postcard. I'm going to mail some postcards out this week. So I just keep giving back, and that turned into something else now. So we do some classes and stuff, and we're very excited about that. And I'll just tie it all up with one last thing. It's really, really important to know your why, right? So I'll just tell you my why, because it makes it so simple for me every day when I just recognize what my why is. So it's my wife, right? So I had my wife who married me 10 years ago and stayed with me all through this craziness, right? She's with me. We've drained our retirement account. We're $450,000 in debt, and she's still there. We're yelling and screaming about money. Where's it going to happen from? Like everyone else has money, families have money. We yell and we scream and we argue and it gets crazy, and she's still there, right? And I woke up this morning and she was still there. That's my why. So she set up some goals, and they're on our mirror in our bathroom. We look at them every single day. And what I do is making sure that she never has to go through that craziness again. That's my why. That's why I'm here. That's how I got here. And it wouldn't have started without Steve and Robin from being August of 2012. So thank you.
For a couple of years, all you guys could be sitting up here.
Absolutely.
I'm a native from Los Angeles, born and raised out here, went to Fairfax High School, went to John Burroughs Junior High School. Yeah, so yeah, I graduated in 1984 from Fairfax High. It's funny because I told a story a little while ago. I got involved in police work over almost 32 years coming up this coming April. It'll be 32 years that I've been with the LAPD as a reserve officer now. But I started off as an Explorer Scout in 1979. And, you know, being a young kid, you want to get in law enforcement. You're watching Adam 12 and TJ Hooker and all that stuff. I was like, I want to be a police officer, right? And in my neighborhood, man, you see the police cars flying by, code 3, jumping the island and chasing the bad guys. And that was like, yeah, that was TV stuff, Hollywood, right? So I get involved in law enforcement and, as a reserve officer earlier in 85. And then I became full-time in 1987, so I did 2 years as a reserve volunteer, but I really, you know, I was too young to become a full-time cop at the time. So I became a reserve, then I became a full-time officer when I turned 21. And so much as I hated school, I mean, not that I hated it, I wasn't very good at school. Academics I struggled with it. I was like a D student, kind of like, you know, but I struggled with it. It took me a long time to get through academics. I mean, but I'm a worker. I can work hard. I can think through things and outwork anybody around me. But I struggle academically. And I thought that was going to hinder me in the academy. I just put in long hours and got around a group of people that helped me through the academy. And first thing to do, they put me in a high school buying drugs. You ever watch 21 Jump Street? Well, that was me, working in the high schools buying drugs for the first few months after I got out of the police academy and working the streets of Los Angeles, going to Jordan Down, okay, going to Jordan High School and buying drugs. And that was kind of a scary thing, but you got through that process, right? What do I know? I'm a rookie cop, right? They try to catch you because they don't want you to have too much cop personality when you go to these schools. If you saw me when I was 21 years old, you'd think I was 12. And that's one of the reasons why, 12, 14, whatever. But that's one of the reasons why they put me in the school. Because when you're a P1, what they call the probationary officer 1, you do what you're told, right? Go where you're told to go. So they said, kid, get out of the patrol and go to work this undercover thing for a few months. They needed me, so I went and did that, got out, went back to patrol. It was safer in patrol, believe it or not. You know, you see all the guns and knives and stuff that come through the schools, and you'd be shocked at the schools back then. So fast forward, you know, now I did full-time, many years, training officer, working detectives, working vice, working undercover capacity, working administrations, doing all kind of things, probably everything from flying helicopters. I didn't fly helicopters, but I wanted to. But did a lot of stuff like that. And, a few people who are my deputy friend over there, he knows what I'm talking about. He's been in the job for many years himself, so he knows the struggles that we do. See, the backbone of law enforcement is patrol. So that's what I love doing, because you really are there to serve people. And that's what I really got out of it, you know, all those years, is really wanting to love and serve people who really needed your help during their worst time, because you may only be the person that they see out of a 30-year lifespan, be the only person in law enforcement contact that they ever had. You want to try to leave a good positive contact or image with the department. So I did that. And but one of the things I did was working. I started off before I went to the high schools, I was working Brentwood, Bel Air, and She mentioned earlier about dinner, working, building condos in Bel Air. Actually, during those times you were doing that, I was actually on patrol. I was on probation, working those areas in patrol. So I know some of those areas you were talking about in Brentwood that you were building those apartments. And so I looked at some of the ways people lived on the good side of the track, or if you would call it the good side of the track. But then after years on in the department, I transferred to South Central LA and San Pedro and Wilmington and Watts, and I saw, wow, it was a big change. It was like, okay, you got a nice big home in Malibu I can go to and see people in Brentwood and Bel Air, and then I go over to South Central LA and everyone's on top of each other. So I saw things and thinking like an entrepreneur. I didn't know then I wasn't thinking as an entrepreneur, but I saw how people lived. And the one thing I had more calls on for responding to, and I know I'm talking all about law enforcement, but that was my whole 30-something years of my exposure. So I saw how when I responded to a call for service and it was a domestic situation, it was always because the husband jumped on the wife, and because he spent the money because of the paycheck, and then they didn't have money in the household, so they got into an argument, and he got drunk and started slapping her around. Or in some cases, vice versa, right? But that was the majority of domestic violence calls in South LA. But in Brentwood, wasn't like that. It was never those calls for the lack of money in the household or situations like that. It was something else, something superfluous, but it was not because of the lack of money in the household. And I said, wow, that's a change in the community and the environment there. And not all the calls were like that, but a good majority of them were like that. And as much as I loved serving people and loved law enforcement, it had to be a way to change that mindset. And how can you change from having no money to helping people learn how to have money? Because they never taught how money worked in school, especially where I came from. Not even when I went through the second time undercover, they never taught you how money works. It was a different story when you understood how money works and the way you can use money as a tool to really change your community, change your mindset, change the way you think, the way you behave. People behave badly when they had no money. Most people who had money never really behaved in that kind of way. In different ways they did, but so I kind of put it all together. Came up with my own little analogy that I thought real estate was going to be one of those things. So I fast forward and coming out of law enforcement full time and getting into becoming and tapping into my entrepreneur spirit. And my entrepreneur spirit was that you read certain books and you associate with certain people, and the people that you wanted to become, that's who you became. So I started changing my people because I could not change my people from where I was. So if you follow what I'm saying, if you can't change your people, change your people. Right. Meaning get some new people. So I found a way of getting some new people, and that's one of the reasons why you associate an event like this on a Tuesday night in the middle of a cold winter starting, right? And we're all here gathered because you're changing your people, which means you're changing your mindset, which means you can change your behavior, which means you can change your financial well-being for not just you, but for other people around you. Okay, so even though my story is kind of long, it comes back circle to see where you can get whatever you want out of it. You know, so my background was law enforcement. So, but also I developed myself because of law enforcement, seeing how people live and how they behave, how you can change that. And the way you change it is by trying something. And even if you fail forward. You learn from the mistakes, you know, because there's a ton of, you know, we talk about debt. I don't even want to get in that. That's another story. I haven't gone that far down in debt, but there's debt. And so you have to make some business decisions. I made some good business decisions. I made some horrible business decisions. My partner, my wife, is right there in the corner filming me, so she's probably going to hold this against me later on. No, I'm just kidding. But she's got it on tape, but she's really the backbone to our business. That's right. Really, truly. I know Robert's wife. I know she's the backbone. She's a huge support of his business. Absolutely. And I know, and some of you guys know her, you know, because you come to some of our training, and you know she's the boss. I call her the watch commander. Again, coming from a law enforcement background, I dealt with watch commanders, field sergeants, captains, lieutenants. She's a watch commander. Mm-hmm. So I have to get watch commander approval before I can do something. So most of the time it's always denied. Continue patrol. And handle these 2 calls on the way. So, and that's the thing that happens. So I want to publicly thank her because I wouldn't be who we are today if she didn't allow me to do that. And so yeah, you can give her that. So it helps to have a supportive spouse, and a lot of you guys here with your spouses, and sometimes, I know about the arguments, because we had the same arguments, it's always not, see, she goes, I love you, but I don't like you a whole lot of times. There's a whole bunch of times she don't like me, right? And that's okay, you know what? Because it's both ways, you see each other every single day. She had 26 years, I think, in banking, okay, working a corporate job, and then I took her away from all that. But I did it in style. Limousine, mariachis. I took away from all that because we needed more of our business. But see, the thing is, we have older kids. Our kids the oldest is 31 and the youngest is 10. Okay, so we have a big gap. We started over basically, right? She had 3 from her previous. We have a blended family, 3 older, and then I have 1, and we have 2, and then we have now 3 grandkids, 1 on the way. So that means we really got to work because we're building our legacy today for tomorrow. Because it ain't, see, they don't want your house. The kids don't want your house. They want your what? Money. There you go. You said it. I didn't. But so I got to really build something here. And so, and I, met Mike today for the first time. Heard so much about him, and he gets showing me a picture of his grandson. Just a great looking kid. And I know he's so proud of him. And it melted my heart to see your grandson in that picture because I see your grandson and I see my grandson. He's in his cowboy boots, he's got his cowboy hat, and he's got his shorts, and it's like, man, that's an awesome dude. And I know you're so proud of him because I get to see it when he shows a picture of him. And we're here, and we have a purpose, and we have to define what that purpose is. We're going to get told no so many times when we're trying to go for that first deal. Some of you trying to get your first deal, maybe your second deal, and maybe you don't make money in your first deal, but it seems so hard, and sometimes you want to quit every single day, every single minute, every single hour. But you just got to be able to say, I was just too dumb to quit, to go out there and get my first deal, to get that first check. Because I promise you, when you get that first big comma check, but if you get a 2 comma check, it makes it even better. See, a 2 comma check, and we experienced that just last year, our first 2 comma check deals. Okay, and that's fun. It's very fun. And so it's not the fact that we want to make that money, it's how many people can we take with us in our group, in our sphere of influence to help make that happen. I hope and pray that each and every one of you here tonight that will get something from each and every one of us here on the stage that will make a life-changing decision to make your life better for your family and the people around you that you love and care about the most. So with that, thank you very much for listening to me, and I turn over to you.
Without any direction at all, until I was almost 9 years old. I've been planning my retirement since 4th grade. From the time I was 16 to 21, I was a professional skateboarder on the Pepsi skateboard team. And in 1982, somewhere around 20 years old, 21, I saw a late night infomercial. It was a Robert Allen, No Money Down infomercial for a seminar. And I fell for it hook, line, and sinker, believed every word of it. And they had a free class, and I told my roommate Thursday night we were going to this class. It was in Long Beach. And it was 3 hours or more upsell to the weekend seminar that was $500. But I just had to be there. I had no money, so we waited at the end until everybody was gone, and we approached the sales lady and explained how we were going to do a 2-for-1 discount, that we were going to sit in the back row. We only needed 1 manual and 1 chair. We were going to do the timeshare on the chair, take turns. Then, when she agreed to that, then we went to work on a good student discount. We were both in community college, C+ students at best. We got the good student discount of $50. Then we asked for a AAA discount. Neither one of us had AAA, and we got that. Then I asked for a Jimco That was the big Lion Gold store. I'd never even been in Genco before. She gave us the last $50 discount and said, that's it. So we committed, but we still didn't pay. We assured her we'd bring the money Saturday morning, which we did scrape it up. But I spent 2 days in a class learning 101 ways to buy real estate, no money down. And I remember on the way home Sunday night, I asked my roommate Chuck, I said, Chuck, do you have any idea what that mortgage thing they talked about all weekend was? And he said no. So we're off to a good start. Now, being naive and optimistic, the bubbling optimist, I was gonna make that work. And the first year, I tried hard, made lots of offers, actually did a few deals, but I realized that this could change my life. Fast forward 34 years, 1,400 houses later, I'm still doing deals, I still have the passion. And I remember after that class, I went to my folks' house for dinner, called for an important family meeting, the 3 of us. We ate dinner, and then I explained to my parents how they were going to mortgage their free and clear house, pull all the money out of it, and turn it over to me so I could head down the road to real estate riches. And I'll never forget my dad. He laughed so hard that he rolled out of the kitchen chair onto the floor, and he was borderline hysterical. I thought we were gonna have to get him oxygen. He was laughing so hard. And he finally got his composure, and we made eye contact, and he went into round 2. And it was round 2 that really pissed me off. And that night, it was my dad who lit a fire inside of me that still burns to this day. We joke about it, but he was a big motivator. I still run a buy-sell operation, not nearly as much as I used to. I average about 3 deals a month, and I wholesale probably 90% of what I buy, pass them on to other investors. It's become a very good business model. But I got into real estate for one reason and one reason only, and that's I didn't want to work. I did not want to have a job. I grew up with military discipline, and I cannot stand to be told what to do. I will work all day long from sun up to sundown on my own terms. Just don't tell me what to do. I got into real estate with the vision of cash flow. I wanted the passive income, wanted to be an investor, but unfortunately I didn't have a job, so I had no money to be an investor. So I've been a real estate entrepreneur all of my adult life, and I've done that to facilitate my investor desires. Originally, when I started real estate, my monthly overhead was about $650. That's what it took me to survive. And so I set a goal of $3,000 in passive income. I figured if I could get 30 houses and they each cash flowed $100, I'd have over 4 times the amount of money that I needed, and life would be wonderful. I set up a goal notebook. I went and bought the Homes and Land magazine, cut out 30 pictures that looked like the houses I should be buying, put each house on a separate page. And one by one, as I went out and started assembling a portfolio, I would use my Polaroid camera and take a picture of my new house, and I would take it back home into the goal book, and I would glue it over that Homes and Land picture. And about halfway through my 30 houses, I had 15 Polaroids and 15 pictures left. I realized that that goal book had taken on a life of its own. It had become real, and my dream was happening. Well, I got to 30 houses, and I realized $3 grand a month isn't all that much money. Especially with 30 rentals to manage. So then I set a goal of $1,000 a day, every day, 365 days a year, passive income. And I reached that goal a long time ago. During that journey, I realized that in order to be financially free, it was a pretty darn simple formula I came up with. I realized that there's recurring expenses. And that's what keeps most people on the 30-day treadmill of life. And I was a single parent. It was me and my daughter. And I thought, first priority, let's get a house paid off that's going to cover our food. So we have the food house. Then let's get a utilities house to keep the lights on and the hot water and everything else. So we got a utilities house. Then I realized insurance. I was paying car insurance, medical insurance. So we got an insurance house. And eventually I had one free and clear house for every one of life's recurring expenses. And I thought, that's it. Well, things were snowballing by then, and life had gotten better. There was one point, my daughter, she has always been a horse person. She has lots of horses, always has. But at one point, she was up to 11 horses, and we ended up getting a hay house. And the whole purpose of that house was to provide hay for her horses. And of course, in retaliation for that, I had to have a sushi house. And since then, I figured I'd set up a few houses for any bad habits I may have now or acquire in the future. And the rest of the free and clear houses went to pay off the last of the debt. But I thought that was a pretty darn simple program, and that was the goal. 35 years later, still after it. It's the thrill of the score. Once all the basics in life are met, you realize at that point it's scoreboard and it's a game. Now, I just mentioned the game. Early on, I had a different mindset that it was a battle. It was a jungle out there, and every day I was going to go out and I was going to do battle and compete. And a long time ago, I changed that concept because I realized if I'm going to put these deals together, nobody's going to bring them to me. In all of my buying career, I bought less than 100 houses through realtors. That I've always done my own marketing, put my own deals together. And I thought, I'm going to create my own deals instead of compete for them. And I'm going to treat it like a game and not a battle. So I play a game and create every day instead of compete and do battle. And it's a totally different mindset. It makes for a much more peaceful, happy existence. And life has been wonderful ever since I got in this real estate game. I've had some ups and downs. Had a great partner for many years, Mick Blackwell. I still consider Mick my partner, even though he's been retired for many, many years. Mick tells me he's down to his last 50 houses. So he's really shrank his portfolio down. But life's been good, and I got what I came for tenfold, and I'm still amazed, and I encourage everybody to hang in there and don't quit till you get what you came for.